this profiling exercise now. Maybe the first thing that I will check is how many people has downloaded the farmer profile. Wow. So 48 people has accessed and probably downloaded the form of the profiling document, which is a quite important portion of percentage of the people who are attending this webinar. The other thing, we have that link to the farmers profiling network graphic, and I would like to share it very quickly here so that we see those who don't access it, that you can see. So this is the graphic that you will have, just to give you an overview of what is going to be explained now, because it's not an easy thing. It would not be something generic and easy to understand anymore. I will see that there will be what we call the information category, and we will see also some field inside this information category. So I think it's time now to continue the presentation from Stephen. And after Stephen's presentation, we will have some feedback from other panelists. And if you have some questions, of course, we will continue to monitor, and raise your hand if you want to intervene at the end of Stephen's presentation. So over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Andre. I'm putting my presentation back. So thank you. So I've seen lots of questions on the chat, and some of them will be addressed here. There were also quite a lot of questions about how, again, I think they are all very interesting discussion. You know, how you administrate questionnaire, how you do data collection. We'll not cover that here, but I think that's also part of the discussions. So let's now go into a bit more details. The first question that we tried to answer was to try to identify the I would say the rules or the way we should select items to put on the profile. So we have identified a few elements of design that I want to share with you to explain, you know, how we reached the proposal we are proposing to discuss. So first, in terms of requirements, you know, how do we select and keep or not specific data points? First, we focus on those who are useful for services, so trying to identify elements that could help providing services to farmer, or help all the value chain actors to design and deliver services. The second element is we only focus on information that can be captured. So what I mean here is that sometimes there is information that you want to capture, but you will not be able to make it. Either technically, you're not able to technically capture it, or sometimes it's from more a social perspective. So I think I've seen this remark in the chat, but for example, if you do remote data collection, and you ask a farmer the size of his field, there is 99% of the chance that he will give you an approximation, because he has no real tool to measure it. On the contrary, if you have a numerator in the field that have GPS device, they can measure exactly the size. So you see, that's what I mean when it's sometimes technically or not technically possible to capture specific information. On the sociological part, what I mean is things like the the price at which a farmer is making this, at the price at which he's selling his crop. In for most farmers, they are businessmen, and it's not specific to the agriculture, but in all businesses you will never see businessmen willing to disclose the price at which they conclude this, because that's some things they feel will hurt their business if they provide this information. So there are some information that people will not want to disclose because they feel it's part of their business. So you have to take that into account, and even if you try to capture, at the end what you get is something that is not accurate or not even useful. Excuse me. Then again, the idea is not to make an exhaustive template that fills everybody, all value chain, etc., but to find the commonalities, the common ground, the kind of common layers that would be common to all countries, to all value chain, all activities. So again, we look at things that are not specific to a specific area or country. The second point, and it's probably the one of the most important design choice we make, is this idea that we cannot make a kind of monoblock profile, just a list of fields. We feel that it is useful to structure that in blocks, in modules. We call that categories, because not all organization, not all actors that will implement farmer profiling need all the blocks. So, for example, you will see later that we put a block related to communication. So, that's all about how you interact with a given farmer. There might be some cases that's like, for example, that's when you do a pure census, you don't need to interact, so you may not need that. There is a block about financial instrument. Here again, financial instruments are useful if the data is collected for finance-related services. If they are not, that might not be useful. So we thought that it was important to build this kind of modular template, so that someone who is engaging in a specific profiling process can pick the modules that they are interested in. Last point, and that's by far not the least important. We focus a lot on the fields we put in the content, but this is not enough. We also have to capture, and again, this was mentioned a couple of times in the chat. We need to capture information about the information. So what we call metadata or data attributes. So we need to collect information about what is in the profile. So typically, the collection method, how was a given information collected. So I take the same example as I mentioned just before, the size of the field. If you know that it's a farmer self-declaration, or if you know that was conducted with a GPS device by an independent enumerator, you will not have at all the same confidence in the information, and you will not apply the same process. So knowing how the information was collected and whether it was validated, then this is critical. So another example is yields. If you ask a farmer about his production or his yield, he will give you an approximation usually. But if you are, for example, talking to an agribusiness that do contract farming, he can precisely know, because he has people that's with weighting machine, that's exactly know how much someone has brought to his place. So again, knowing whether there is a validation process is essential. Other attributes is related to the update of the information. And again, we have here from our distinguished panelists the importance of running the data collection, and the difficulty also it poses. And knowing whether an information need to be updated regularly and when it was last updated, or knowing it doesn't need to be regularly updated is critical. So let me again take an example. If you collect the crop in a field, there is a big difference whether it's a seasonal crop that will change every quarter or so, or if it's, let's say, if it's cocoa, tea, or coffee, that will not change a lot. So if you know that in a garden you have tea plant, and then the information was updated 1 year ago, you may be confident. If you have I don't know, seasonal vegetable in the field, and you see it was collected a year ago, you know that there is almost no chance that the information is still valid. So again, that's about the need to update the information. Other attributes that we find important, and again that was mentioned in the chat, that's related to sensitivity, personal data, and legal aspects. So what we mean here is multiple things. So there are information that are now in a growing number of countries that are considered as personal data, and a big number of countries now in Africa has adopted personal data protection legislation. So you need to identify within your profile what are information that are covered by the law, and ensure that these information are first not shared and anonymized if you want to share the data with some sources, and you have also to put in place a specific processes like capturing explicit content and so on. So it's important to identify those pieces of information. In the same way, what we call legal risk is that in some countries the collection of some information might be forbidden, like health information, like disabilities, like ethnic groups. There are some countries have legislation that forbid this. So we have to identify in the generic template those information that might be problematic, to ensure that someone who use the template will uh, will do the due diligence to know whether he can use this field or not. So all these attributes, these metadata, and again, that's just a proposal and that could be enriched, but all the idea of this metadata is first to uh, uh, increase the confidence in the information stored in the profile, because if you have no clue of the quality of the data in the profile has no value, because you will never trust something that has no quality. So the idea is to build in this quality and also to build in um, elements to ensure that the use of the template meets the legal criteria. So that's that's a important element. So now we'll move to presenting you a specific proposal that is presented in the paper. This proposal comes from the compilation of our own field initiative. As I said, we have implemented about a dozen of profiling initiative, and we have advised or reviewed about the same level. So we took this experience, and we also conduct desk research to identify documented studies on the same, to try to gather those kind of common ground that we could find and propose. How we think, how can you decide what are useful information besides what I mentioned. I think there are different perspectives. So our perspective, the one we took, was based again on experience, past experience, or existing initiative. But there are other way to also identify different fields. So typically, you can ask yourself whether this template allow the right classification um, of the farmer, support the analytics and the data use that you want to do. So typically, if you want to measure things like gender gap, you have to be sure the profile include the right data. So again, the idea is wondering how data profile as a tool can help you answer the question you are asking for your work. The third, and that's critical, I mentioned, say information that supports service provision. And the last two, that's what I just mentioned, is was mainly for the metadata. Is how can you increase confidence and check the quality of profile information. So now let's move to categories. So we have identified, and the proposal, and again, that's just on the table for discussion and consensus. But what we propose is this series of categories, and I'm giving a quick rationale. Personal information, that's all about the farm, the farmer, and the producer. So that's the identification. The second category is about communication. I mentioned is all about identifying the way to interact with the farmer, and that's covered different things. That's covered things like languages spoken, but also whether which technologies the farmer has access to. Would that be mobile phone? Would that be broadcast technology like radio or TV? At which time they watch or access TV or radio? What kind of phone, and so on and so forth. The third category is location. Is where is the farmer, and again there are different ways of characterizing the location. That could be a GPS coordinate if it's capturable. That could be an administrative location, the region, the district, the county, or the commune, and so on. That could be also a local address, like closest to school A or closest to health center B. So that's you can identify clearly where is the person. So there are many ways to explore, to express the location. And sometimes you need to instantiate different means. Like sometimes people feel that a GPS coordinate is a kind of ultimate information. But if within your country you don't have the information about, you don't have a way to map GPS coordinates with an administrative division, that would be extremely difficult, because as I said at the very beginning of this talk, lots of information you get, like, let's say, weather forecast. You will not get a weather forecast with GPS coordinate. You will get a GPS forecast for a given county or for some given place. So you have a need to map, this information with the location. So sometimes you need, if even if you have access to the GPS coordinate of a farm, that's not enough in order to build appropriate service. I'm going through other important elements or categories. Credit information. What are your history? What are the farmer history in terms of credit and credit events? Knowing how much your farmer has borrowed and so on and so forth is important for credit scoring. Insurance also. Knowing what kind of insurance, germination insurance, yield insurance, weather insurance, and so on, to the farmer may have. What are the farm details? It's all about, the availability of specific tool, manpower, etc., in order to, again, support lots of services like extension. Then you have the all about the qualification that's useful, again, both for extension and production services and trade. Knowing that you have specific certification allow you to be interesting for trader that's export to Europe or specific countries, or allow you to get a premium price, like if you have organic food or that kind of things. The field information, where are you field, what are the area under cultivation, are essential for almost all services. And then the business information is all about trade, market linkages, trader linkages, and so on and so forth. And finally, there is a section, and again, that's back to what I was mentioning before, and that was also mentioned earlier on the chat. Um, there is a series of data points that you need to have in the profile in countries that have personal data protection legislation in place. So you need to have this category. If you are in a country that implements such a law, you need to have these categories where you will have things like, explicit consent from the farmer. You have the sets of data sharing agreements that you shared with the farmer and that's have been allowed by him, and so on and so forth. So that's more or less the proposal for the category. So here I just summarize, I just mentioned it is, the rationale for adopting these categories, why you need those category, and in which case you should select those. So perhaps I stop here again before getting in the
Yes.
lowest level of details, and I've asked a couple of questions. Whether this idea of having both data information and data and information about the data itself, what we call metadata, is appropriate, and whether the proposed modular approach and the category make sense.
Yes, thank you so much, Stefan. I think we can discuss about these questions here. And at the same time, I would like to launch another poll. So this one will again try to see how we understand and we know about these different information categories that has been presented just now. So which of these categories, this is the question that I'm asking here, are the most important in your context for you as maybe extensionist or as a policymaker or as government agency and so on. And then after that, which of these categories are the most important? Um, no, sorry. Then which category are missing in your experience? So this might be the first time you'll hear about some types of information that we collect. I don't know if you have already collected information on insurance before, on financial instruments and so on. So please also click here the the type of information that you haven't been dealing with before. So we'll just post this questionnaire for a couple of minutes, and then we will continue. So those who can respond to the poll will respond. Those who want to ask also questions or this prepare for this discussion, we encourage you to write your question in the chat box or in the Q&A. It's evident that as you've seen, there are many categories of information that might be of interest for in profiling farmers, but it depends on what will be the usage, why we need this information. You will need some information because it's mandatory, or sometimes because you are projecting something in the future, or sometimes it's just for internal information and to have a more uh, clear perception of the farmers you are dealing with, and adapt your strategies and so on based on that. So it's not all mandatory. It depends. Some of these categories you won't even use. And as explained, some might be unavailable or not allowed, forbidden in some countries. But it's up to us, of course, to see which one can be used and applied in the different circumstances in different uh, countries. So looking at the poll now, okay, we have like 25 voters here. What I see is the most important information that you're collecting. Okay, let me end the poll and share. So share the result. So the most important information for us is the farm details, it seems. And then many also are focusing a lot on the location. Well, there are two locations here. One is the location of the farmer, but the other one is the location of the field. So on the field information, you have the location of the field, but the farmer might live at some another place. So I don't know which. Yeah, it seems they are at the same level. Um, Location and field information. And then we are more interested in personal information and in production information. Yeah, so this just gives us an idea. So yeah, our trend is to look at the farm details, and it's a good thing because it focuses on the production and how we can really improve the productivity and production in the different with different farmers, with the farmers. Now coming to the next question, which category of information are missing in your experience? So it seems the one that is missing most is the insurance information and the business information before the financial and qualification. I don't know why this. Yeah, the insurance information. Yeah, maybe in Africa there are not much of that. Um, You apply for insurance in some cases for big business, but for very small farmers, I don't think there's insurance. So that's probably why we are missing this information. The business information. This is about the business information we will see just after. It's about our uh, belonging to some cooperatives, the network we are working with, and so on. So I think we have information about that. Yeah. So this is just to give us an idea of the experience we have in the area of farmer profiling. So coming back now to, okay, there are many questions here or contributions. If Krishan or some of the other panelists have something to say about the the contribution in the chat, you can take over, of course. Otherwise, maybe we will continue with the question that was asked by.
Yes, Andre, Christian here. Just to,
Yes, please go ahead.
you're assuming as long as Christian is not the one who's putting the questions in the chat. But I'm trying to also raise some of the issues on questions that came up. For example, the issue of why don't we collect data in terms of the categories or the age categories? And that's a discussion we even had in our internal team. And the idea of the template is to try to narrow down what is the data that we need to collect or to capture that then enables us to process it in different ways. So if you, for example, looked at, I do my data collection and I look at age categories, are you, between 0 and 20, 20 to 40, and 40 to 60, and so on. Then I collect it. And then tomorrow somebody says, oh, but I need the data for those who are above 30. Then you are not in a position to be able to interpret the data because you did not collect it as it is. So if you had the birth date exactly, you could process it in many different ways, in whichever way you wanted. And that's the kind of discussion we also want people to think about as we go through the details. But at this level, we are still looking at, the personal information, and Stefan did a good job giving you an overview, what kind of information we're looking for. And maybe the last thing, the comparison we're looking at here is think about the way we've split it into personal information, communication information, and so on. Do you think that some of these should be separated? Because not everything goes together. Or did we combine things that later we'll say, oh, actually, we should separate these? And I know there are two categories of audiences that we have to satisfy. On one hand are the people who are going to use the data, who want to use the data to make decisions, to generate information about interventions in terms of extension, research, and so on, eventually policymakers. They want to know how this data is going to give them information to make decisions. On the other hand, we have the IT specialists who are also in this group, or the ones who are actually collecting the data, thinking, yes, but how do I design my questionnaire? How do I get this done? And do I, as we said before, do we do it in one go? Do we do it in several layers? So we get the core information, and when people understand why we need to be collecting the information, we can add some more questions. So these are the kinds of debates we should be having in the chat, but think about it and try to critique the categorization at this point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Krishan. I'm going to share here a graphic of the categorization. And as Stefan, Stefan asked in his discussion point, what are your comments on the proposed modular approach on the list of the category? We will go more in deep in the next maybe last 20 minutes, but Do you have some comments about these categories? Personal information, communication information, location, financial instruments, credit information, insurance, farm details, and so on. Do you want to say something? Please, if you want to express something particular, you can also raise your hand, and I will give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is King David coming back again. Um,
Yes.
I realized that from what the polls that you took, what
Mm-hmm.
came out is exactly what pertains even in our country, Ghana here. When we look at the categories, we go in more for the farm details, we go in for personal information, then we go in for the location of the farmer, and then the production, the commodities that are produced. And at certain times also, we ask for the field, the commodity production. So these are some of the categorization I think are very, very important. And then we can also look at the business, whether it is for production, is for processing, or is for marketing, so that we
Mm-hmm.
are able to categorize. But what is actually missing is the insurance part. I
Mm-hmm.
think insurance is becoming is new in our area here. But I think there are some pilots that are taking place in the northern part of the country. But apart from that, insurance is very limited. Um,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, marketing, I think, could be looked at very seriously, because one of the issues farmers always come across is marketing. Farmers
Yeah.
produce, and then there are no markets. Our government
Mm-hmm.
say come up with new commodities. They say go in for this, go in for that, and farmers are given maybe seeds. We go in, we plant, and then immediately after that there are no markets, and this has become a very big disincentive to farmers, to the extent that even now, when the governments come up with new varieties, or even the research stations come up with new varieties of crops, or of livestock, we the farmers become like lukewarm. Our attitude is like wait and see. We wait for
Mm-hmm.
1 year, 2 years to see the outcome before we want to join. You see, because of no markets availability. So these are some of
Yes.
the things that has become a disincentive to farmers. If we look at about the financial issue, like you rightly said, all that we ask is whether they have a bank account, and then the bank details. But
Mm-hmm.
if you ask them for maybe the acreage or the quantity of produce, they become a bit hesitant, trying to think about why we are asking them those questions. Is it for taxation, or is it to give them money?
Mm-hmm.
If it is to give
Yeah.
them money, then they will say yes. Then they will give you bigger production. But if it is for
Mm-hmm.
taxation, they will say no. If I do it, then they will tax me so much, and then they give very little details about what they produce. So these are some of
Yes.
the my thoughts about the categorization, and then the missing ones that you spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, King David. I think it's time also to hear a little bit from extension representative here. Is Prof. Dele here? Um, Maybe the question that I would like to ask him if he's here. Are you there, Prof. Dele?
Yes,
Uh,
I'm here.
yeah. Okay. Will you? Maybe you want to intervene now,
Yes.
um, because we've just seen that there are so many information and that we can collect based on this template. But in your case, as an extension worker and manager of the country fora in Nigeria, which type of information do you collect from your farmers or the extension workers that you work with, and what is the usage of this type of information? Can you elaborate just in 5 minutes about that, please? Hello? Hello, we can hear you. Oh, I think he's gone.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, Dr. Mercy.
Yeah. When we look at the different categories, I want to appreciate those that came up with this. I think it's really very comprehensive, but there is need for us to unpack each of the categories into subcategories so that we can actually know what goes into each category, and then we can examine each
I'm back
category.
again.
Oh my God.
Yes, we'll give you the floor, but let
I'm back.
Dr. Mercy finish.
Okay, we can know what
Okay,
goes
okay.
into each of those categories, and then we can actually look at all of the variables that we want to capture in each of the categories. But when you look
Okay.
at this, the question also is, because I've seen most of the questions in the chat, it's how much of gender is captured here. We talk of gender equality, gender equity, women empowerment. How much of it goes in there? Do we need to have a separate a category or list of categories for gender, looking at with this template addressing gender analysis or gender issues? So I say one of the ways to go about it is for some of the gender variables, we can actually capture them, in an integrated way. As we have this. This is why we need to unpack these various categories very well, so we can actually
Okay.
have them integrated. But for some that are really very specific, we can have other categories. This is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mercy. I think we will go more in depth about that after, and we are running out of time now. This template is gender neutral. You will see that we have all the everything that you need to analyze things about gender there. But let's listen from Prof. Dele, if he's there, and then we will continue deeper with the other aspect. Yes, Prof. Dele.
Actually, I didn't get your question because I went off. The line went off. Hello?
Well, the question is just what type of information are you collecting as extension manager or extension worker, and what is the use of this type of information?
Okay.
So,
Actually, with regards to extension, we believe that, of course, data is life because it's very important in the sense that we also make sure at least this issue which Mercy was talking about is very, very important at the farmers level. Anything information you want to collect, it must also be with regards to gender, taking it into perspective, and there's a deliberate attempt always to collect information based on gender, so that you are sure that this is actually the males are doing this part and the female doing this part, especially for the youth. The women and the youth, especially, it's very important that you deliberately disaggregate at the beginning, right from the word go. You have it in your mind so that all what you are doing is such that you are very conscious that you want to be sure that this is done by female or this is done by male. So that on the long run, you have a broader picture because you want to direct all the services to every part of the of the family, not only just to one part of just only for the female, because in some areas you don't have female extension officers or champions, and so all of them are male. And the quantity that you have, the number is so small that you have to be very careful so that you don't deliberately push aside the females. So that would be a very good attempt. That's my own. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Dele. So now you are advocating for the female, eh? That's good.
Yes.
Maybe maybe we have to continue because there's a last part for this presentation, the templates presentation, and I will give back the floor to Stefan to be able to finish his presentation, and then we will, all those who have some contributions or some questions, please write in the chat box and the Q&A, because we are going to run out of time. But we want to capture everything that you think, especially the improvements and decisions you are taking from now and the actions that you might take for the future. So please, Stefan, can you continue the last part?
Sure. I don't know if you have seen it. There is also someone who has raised hand. Just mentioning it
Oh
here.
yeah, yes. Let's allow Hamlus, please. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Or
Yeah, thank you, Andli. Hamlas is my name, from Uganda.
mm-hmm.
I've been in this data collection, especially for smallholder and medium farmers for about the last 4 years, working with CTA and
Mm-hmm.
the support of EU through CTA. Thank you, Stefan, for the presentation. I agree with the previous contributor on the breaking down of these categories. When I look at the whole big picture, if you can show that very slide of the category.
You want me to share?
Share. Yeah, there's that slide of the category of the profile.
Okay, let me share that again.
Yeah, so when I look at this information category for the farmers profile, it's still on the bigger aspect. I'll give a scenario. We've been working on an umbrella for Africa Goes Digital, whereby we are currently collecting some other farm data using the drone. So at this point, I would not basically know where these drones or the UAVs really belong. If we can have the split again more further to this, and then we look at other different subcategory of regarding these specific categories, I think that would be more helpful. I would love to see where information that works on the climate change. These are upcoming other relevance in terms of collaboration and partnership that would seek intervention on the same data that is being collected. This will basically help in avoiding multiple work, same data sets being collected by different partners, and those are expenses of data collection. So I want to thank Para and other respective collaborators in this. We've got quite a lot of data that we have collected from our farmers, and there's quite a lot of the challenge when it comes to validation, like Stefan shared on this. And if we can have really an aggregator that would bring these data sets from the farmers, then much better. And my other big issue is basically on this. we are collecting this data, but when it comes to the point of giving back the owners of the data, there's still a very huge gap on the dissemination and giving back this data to the users. So these are my few kind of contributions, but I would be more happy if I can see the breakdown of this particular category to see where relevance of some other items coming, like household income, the drones, now the climate change that is all over going on, and these are the things that basically hinder the farmers here in Africa. Thank you, Andre. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Hamdos. Yeah, I think everyone wants to go deeper now because you are talking about some types of data here, and in the next presentation or set of slides, I think Stefan will explain more about the different types of fields that are in these categories, and we won't have time to discuss in depth about all these things, and especially to evaluate if all the fields are there and if we need to which country use such field or not. But it will be just an overview that we'll be able to do here. So yeah, Stefan, please continue your presentation.
Thank you, Andre. So before continuing, I just wanted to react to Amru's point, and I think what Amru is saying is very important, and I noted a couple of elements that I also want to emphasize, particularly this idea of returning back the information to farmer. I think that in our experience and in Amru's experience, it is absolutely critical. What is critical, and that's part of the success, is that farmer see a direct value in disclosing information. If they don't see a value, you can be sure they and it was mentioned also by one of our distinguished panelists. If they are not seeing any impact, they will not disclose anything because they don't want to waste their time. At the opposite, if they see direct value, and that's what I put under returning information to farmer, that could be in form of like a dossier that could serve for accessing to credit, like what Amri's factory is doing, or that could be returning in the form of services that improve their life, group buying of input to make them cheaper, or anything. But I think this element is essential. Last point, and that's something that is part of this discussion about the field. It is extremely, and again, that's just to react to Amru's point about drone imagery, and and there are lots of information. So you will see in the proposed sets of fields that there are fields that are very precise. So when you say a name or GPS location, you know what you have to put on the name. It's a name. On the GPS location, it's a GPS coordinates. But then you will see there are others that are far broader, and I think it's on purpose because the technology is evolving. So typically, when it comes to extension service, the way you can describe some you can illustrate some pest and disease attack by providing some drone image, or that could be just a piece of text that's describe the disease. Just to say that because the technology is evolving so quickly, the way the information you put on some of the field may be extremely different, and that's the only way to ensure that this profile can can be stable as the technology evolve. And I think that's something we have to take into account. So now I'm moving to the proposal. So we have made a proposal by category. I will go through, given the time, I will quickly go through some of the core thing. On the personal information, I think it's important that there are likely things missing. Um, for example, we have worked in South Pacific, and typically in South Pacific, capturing the name and first name is not enough to identify a person. You need to capture also the father name. That's uh, a complete part of the identification. So I mean, like that kind of things that should be considered. We also have seen. I mean, like there are many elements. We chat in the chat. Christian explained well the issue with capturing the date of birth or the birth date or the birth year versus capturing an age group, and I think he explained very well in the in the chat, and when he spoke about the fact that when you have the birth date or the birth year, you can meet whatever categories. You don't need to update that as the person is getting older, and so on and so forth. So the age is the perfect thing, and that's what you should try to get, even if not everybody knows exactly his birth date. But that's important. You should apply the same thinking when it comes to income. So again, the core element is the average annual income, but um, but for anyone who have tried to capture this information, and that's part of the kind of sociological challenge I mentioned earlier, people have a hard time, or are usually not willing to tell you what are their income. So the only way you can evaluate that is at best is with using income groups, and people may want to tell in which group they are, but usually not even that is possible. They don't even give you a group, and so the classification of income will come from the analysis of other dimension, like the number of fields, the production, the size of the family, so that's just to highlight some of the limitation of um, of this exercise, and also to explain also the some of the metadata we put, like as I said, the income group we put that has a sensitive information because of this reason I just explained. In the same way, the last three: disabilities, health information, health insurance. I mean, like in many countries, disabilities and health information are heavily regulated, so it's not even allowed to capture that. Health insurance, why we put in health insurance is because we have, in the last couple of years, we have worked quite a lot on access to finance. And we have seen this as an important element for financial institutions and for the way they compute credit scoring for a given person. But again, that's kind of information are quite sensitive, even if for the insurance itself is less sensitive than um, for um, for others. I will quickly go through.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
we need to go quicker now. Yes, thank
yeah.
you.
I will go quickly. Again, the communication information. The idea is to capture all technology, online technology, phone technology, capacities on using specific functionalities on phone like XMS, but also capturing broadcast technology, because it's for lots of places in Africa, in our experience, radio is still the main channel to interact with farmers, and and you need to capture information to make radio even more successful. Location, I think we discussed it before, the need to capture different kind of location depending on what is available and what is useful. A financial instrument, here again, what is important most of the time is knowing what kind of instruments a farmer has. It's not about getting the account details, because again, that's so sensitive that nobody will never disclose that, but knowing whether the person is banked on a traditional financial institution or MFI, or has a mobile money account, enable provide lots of information for what is possible for this farmer. Credit information. Here again, just highlighting one element, which is the farm business plan. The credit records are essential um, for financial institutions to compute again the credit scoring of a given farmer. But what we found also absolutely essential is the farm business plan, so that the financial institution have a strong background to understand the repayment capacities. We have seen that lots of issue with access to credit is not really accessing the credit, but is accessing the right amount at the right time and ensuring that the repayment fits the trading. So if you are asked to repay your credit at a time where you have no cash because you haven't harvested your production, that's a problem. So we found that a business plan is critical. Quickly on some other things, farm details, and I've seen on the chat lots of information related to technology. I think that's something that could fit here. We should extend that to also look at technologies available on farm that could be useful. That's something we could fit into potentially equipment, but we have to see whether we should expand that. Qualification, it's all about the certification. You had the certification and qualification. You got the institution that give the certification or the qualification and the date. I have seen also in the chat the need for capturing potentially projects and programs in which a farmer is involved. I think it's that's something we should consider, and I likely need to expand to that. Field information. So here, I wanted also to get back to something I mentioned before. Some of the information might be fitting under the field information or might be extracted. Like typically, ourselves, we always put the crop information within the field information, like under the area of cultivation. That's where you say, okay, this part of the field is growing that crop, mainly because particularly for seasonal crop there is rotating things, so that attached to a field. But that's that's something that could, and some other implementations separate the crop from the field. So that's I'm happy to get input on that.
Yeah, can you summarize in 3 minutes the last three categories?
Sure. Production information is all about the information about the activity that are happening in the field in order to monitor what's going on. That's mainly extension. That's where as part of the production activity you have treatment, you have pest and disease attack. That's where you could fit drone imagery. Here drone imagery, if it's all about monitor, just having a map of the field, could fit also on the field part. But so that just to illustrate Amne's point. Business information is all about the linkages to see where is the farmer in the value chain, and what is his linkages with the other actor, and see whether there are opportunities for him to get more opportunities. And legal information, just to conclude quickly, that's, as I mentioned, that's all about personal data protection legislation. So usually in all countries, you have to capture explicit agreement for personal data capture, and you have also to share the data sharing agreements that you have with third party. So that's why this is shared. This might be extended. Some countries have as even more, as even stronger requirements that could be expanded. I just finished here. Sorry, it was quick. We thought we have lots of time with 3 hours, but we ended up having being short because of all the discussions. But I put some question here.
Yes, thank you so much, Stefan. I think that people are very passionate about this farmer profiling exercise. So because until now we have like 70 persons continuing on this webinar, but we won't keep them too long. Maybe we will try to wrap up now. And I think one of our expert hasn't expressed anything yet, is Dr. Ben Adam here. Maybe we'll give him the last. Is he there first?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm here.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, let me just summarize quickly what we've done today, and you'll have the privilege to conclude. What we've seen is that there is a first attempt here, not a first, but it's another attempt, but another attempt that has tried to capitalize on various experience that has already been done in different area of countries and areas across Africa and maybe even in other continents. It's not easy to develop a farmer providing template, as it was explained, and it takes also time to reflect and to decide on which exactly uh, uh, category of information we need, depending on the different usage and who is the person who is asking for this information. Um, from the questions and answers and all the chats, I noticed that there are some concerns, many concerns about how to collect, how we can use, is it enough? Are the information there enough? Is it sensitive in this angle and so on? While this is a generic tries to be as comprehensive and as neutral as possible. The thing is that from this template, we can develop some database, and from the database, we can use some tools to drill and to get all the types of analysis, angles of perspectives, and so on that we want later. The only thing is we have to decide at some point, okay, which field, which categories of information we are going to deal with, which field we want to put there, and then use some tools to collect it. And then with all the information that we can collect, it will be gender sensitive because as you see, as you saw, the information about the personal information contains sex, it contains age, and so on. And it will also deal with any type of value chain actors and different types of crops and so on. Because in the production, in the field information and so on, you have all the information. Later, you just, after capturing the information in this type of database, you would just need to do some analysis or some sorting, and you will have all the information that you need. How many female you have, how many young people you have, how many are dealing with maize, how many are doing this and that. But That is at another lower stage in future. What we're dealing for now is a generic template. It's very general for now. I think there's one important thing that we discussed today about the sensitivity and the importance of information. We can collect a lot of data. We can build a very nice template to collect such wealth of information, but where is it going? Is it going to bring some value to our farmers, to our country economies, and to the continent? These are questions that we really have to ask, because we don't do exercise just for doing it. We need to have a clear perspective of where we are going, what we are going to do with it. So let me thank all the participants here for the very exciting discussion. I've seen many questions that hasn't been answered. We will answer to these questions in the D group. We have captured everything and we'll put it in the D group and answer. Some of the key contributions in the chat also we will try to summarize. And we hope that some decisions, some new initiatives will come from this. Now that you have a template, it's a kind of structure from where you can start. You can pick modules, you can pick fields. You are not obliged to use everything. You can start from where you think you can start and improve it gradually. And we would like to hear, of course, your experience as extension worker, as a farm organization manager, as a researcher, maybe as a development agencies, and so on, so that we can continue to improve this template. So maybe the last question I would like to ask Ben. Ben is one of the big architect of digitalization in agriculture in Africa. What do you think, Ben? Is this an initiative on profiling farmer an easy task? If we want to really uh, uh, have it everywhere and make it happen everywhere at a wide scale, how can we make it? What are the challenges? And what will be the role, the role of ICT in building such in building a farmer's profile in Africa? Maybe we'll end with these questions, and if you have more recommendations before we hand over back to Benjamin and Krishan.
Yes, Andre. Yeah, I've been listening to the session on and off. I was on the road at some point and came back, and so I heard a lot. And I think Stefan has done great job, pulling all this together. And there's no doubt that we need a generic template, and that is what I think we all need to understand, that we are talking of a generic. It's not something that everybody can just go and use, but you use that generic, you customize it to meet your needs, your project needs. But the other thing is to agree that this generic template can serve the interests of agricultural extension in Africa. One comment I picked when I was listening was from Miss Mercy. So she stated that we are talking about farmer profiling, but she thinks we should go beyond farmer profiling because the farmers are not working in isolation. So we should start thinking of other actors within the value chain. And that's another thing that we need to look at as we work on this template. And I fully agree with that. I talk about holistic approach to some of this, and that is one, because from experience, you gather all this information, on the farmer, and you will not, if you don't have information on the other stakeholders, then you get stuck, you know. So you gather information about the farmer production and everything. At the end of production, you need aggregators to purchase. You need to know which aggregators are interested in soybean. If you don't know where they are, if you don't know their business information, you may not be able to link the farmer to those people, you know, the banks and all those things. So I like her comment, and that is something that I think you guys should consider when you are working on it. So yes, 3 hours has run up quickly. Stefan said it. I thought 3 hours is too long, but I have a lot to say, but I don't think this is the time to talk about it because I think so. Yeah, good listening. I think we need more discussion on this for this to benefit not only the farmers but other stakeholders in Africa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. And thank you, Stefan, for your very comprehensive presentation. I think we are all satisfied with what we learned today. While we are going to conclude, I would like to just share a quick evaluation forms that the 64 participants that are here can just evaluate quickly the progress we've done. And in the chat box, I saw Krishan proposing, since the 3 hours seems not enough for us, that we organize other sessions in 2 hours, multiplied by maybe other sessions in future. So that seems to be a good idea. This is not just the end of this exercise. Profiling farmers is something that we must do. We need to do for very different reasons that we've seen here. But I think we have just started now, and more discussion and especially more actions, concretizations need to be done after. So thank you everyone for the participation. Let me give back the floor to Krishan and Ben now. I will just end this poll and show the results. Over to you, Ben.
Okay, okay, Andre, sorry, it's Krishan here. I'm going to take over from Ben. Just to let you know that we are having another, like 2 workshops at the same time. We have a whole lot of ICT specialists in the room next door. So some of the discussions that we have had here will also be fed to them, and we'll be looking at what are their views in terms of the way we organize the data, and especially the last set of slides and presentations that Stefan had in terms of the data and the way we will store it, or the way it should be captured. Yes, you said 3 hours. Krishan said 3 hours wasn't enough, but you know, when Krishan is involved, 3 hours is never enough. And the kind of conversations we've had, I really enjoyed the way we've been able to bring about the engagement of multiple partners, either intervening directly, also through the chat, through the question and answer sessions. As you said, we will capture all the, or we have captured all the questions, and we'll get it from the recording as well. I feel we have started something that I think we cannot stop anymore, because I think the way that all of us have gotten excited about it, okay, Ben is here now. So we will, it's starting off as an initiative of the Taat program, because we've been tasked to do this. But I think this is much larger than any one of us or any one of our institutions. So I think since we've started it, we will have to pursue the conversations a little bit longer, and definitely, as all of you will be going through the, let's say, the set of slides that we have prepared and the document, you can come back to us with feedback, either directly by email, but preferably through the discussion forums we have. I know we use 2 discussion forums for this, for the preparation for this webinar, one on the AFAS forum and one on the TAT CDTO. I think it might be easier for us to go into one, and I think I kind of pasted the link to the CDTO group before, but we can discuss that. There's no harm in having the discussions happening on 2 groups which are targeted on 2 different audiences or set of participants, as long as we can still converge with the conversations. So I would really want, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems there's one hand raised. I don't know if Philip wants to, if we give him a chance to just say something, one minute,
Okay.
and then we close. Philip, over to you. Yes, we can. Please go ahead, Philip. We can't hear anything. Philip, we can't hear anything. Okay, so maybe his mic is not working. Yeah, can we? Yeah, maybe we can conclude now.
Right. Okay. So again, I'd like to express my thanks to all of those who have worked on preparing for this webinar. Already we had a lot of discussions amongst ourselves, especially Stefan, who shared his initial document with the group that is organizing it. We had even discussions about it. And just to also let you know that we're having it's a 3-day workshop we're having here. So the kind of issues that have been raised today are still going to be discussed in this workshop amongst all the different representatives in the room. So we will be sharing with you some of the advancements we have made in terms of the discussions, especially the details, and also looking at the kind of comments people have made. Now, the way forward, I would say, is that we still need to continue the discussion, and you will please advise on whether you would like us to take it in terms of each category one at a time. That is also an option, but obviously takes more time. Yeah, so but again, the thanks go to Stefan, our panelists. We had people from TAT, we have people from AFAS, we have people from FARA intervening behind the scenes and in the panel as well. Thanks for Ben Adom in terms of the kind of overview at the end. I know he's very keen about it, and also looking at how that can link up with the process of ICT for D or digitalization. So we really look forward to using the latest set of tools we have to take this process forward. I also appreciated the fact that we seem to have created a gender team within this chat session that is going to start kind of coordinating the feedback to this group or onto this template. Perhaps this is also a way that different categories of stakeholders can also respond. But also, I would look at my representative of the farm organizations here. Unfortunately, we had one representative, representing all the farmers from Ghana, who is in the workshop, who will take the messages here. But definitely next time we will have the farm organizations in a much larger representation in this session to really take it down to the level they are the subject of this discussion. They should be the ones who are also telling us what they think about all these templates and so on. I think that's about it. I hope I've not forgotten anyone I should be thanking. Let me conclude by thanking you, Andre, for having facilitated the session. Three hours is a marathon, but as Ben said, these went very fast. We have our colleagues in the workshop who Ben mentioned before, Kwabena, Imelda, who have also been listening. And Imelda will be looking at, helping us in terms of the data visualization. And Kwabena will be looking at supporting the work that Stefan has done in terms of preparing, that Andre has facilitated, and he will be looking at the physical facilitation in our workshop. Okay, I think I've said everything that has to be said so far. For those who have missed lunch with this webinar, I will wish you all bon appetit. For those who might be even having dinner after this, enjoy your meal. And we'll see you soon online, and we'll see you, I think, for the follow-up of this interesting set of discussions that we've launched. So with these, thank you again. And yeah, we'll say goodbye. Maybe we'll leave the chat open for a while, Andre, just so for people have any last-minute comments or suggestions before we close the session. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, Andre.